my channel. I know my hair's looking a little crazy. It's actually wash day yet again. I don't know why I tend to always end up recording on the days that it's wash day, but it doesn't matter. I've been like inching along at this, talking about how I'm gonna tell you guys my experience with the whole IUD shit. Like, I've been saying that constantly and then I just never did. So today we're gonna be getting into my experience getting an IUD and would it be the best fit for you. If you are new, make sure to like, comment, subscribe. But yeah, let's just get into it. That scared me. I'm gonna just start off with my whole experience being on birth control, period. I feel like I got on birth control very prematurely. Here's the issue with me. Unfortunately, I am very hard-headed, I am very stubborn, and I will not get shit the first, second, third time around. It might take me 4, 5, 6, 7 times for me to go through something, for me to finally be like, you know what, I don't need to deal with this. I've always dealt with like really bad periods. I think it was like my sophomore year when like I was thinking about really truly getting on it, because I've just heard like stories about girls getting on it because of their menstrual cramps and all this stuff, and I'm like, I need that. Whoa, I want that. It wasn't until my junior year, one of my friends was getting birth control. Me and my delusional self was like, this is a sign for me to get on birth control. She has her appointment, I'm gonna go with her, I'm also gonna get on birth control, we're gonna do this together. Like, you know what I'm saying? I was so excited, not knowing what the fuck I was signing myself up for. Off the bat, knowing how I am, I was like, I already know how irresponsible I am to take pills at the same time every single day. I'm not gonna do that. I'm not gonna fuck myself over. Well, yes, my first intention was to get on birth control for my menstrual cramps. We all know. And at that time, that's the only form of birth control that I knew. So when I went to the office at Planned Parenthood, they gave me a whole pamphlet of all these different forms of birth control. I was like, whoa, here are the different forms of birth control. There's the arm implant that lasts, I think, 3 to 5 years. Depot shots, you have to go every 3 months. The patch, a sticker, you stick it on, and then like 1 week you don't put it on, and that's the week you're supposed to get your period. The IUD, which goes inserted into your uterus. And I feel like I'm missing some. I opted out for depot shots. I was like, realistically, I'll remember to come in every 3 months. This was in November of 2019. It was towards the end of November, so I would have to go towards the beginning of March. Y'all know what happened in 2020.
Coronavirus! Shit is real! Shit is getting real! Shit is real! Coronavirus! Shit is real!
Shit goes down. Immediately, and I mean immediately, did I start gaining weight out the ass. Within the first month, I gained like 10 pounds. And I know that's nothing. I was a stick. I was a fucking twig, okay? I was a twig. So everything shut down. I couldn't do nothing about it. Everybody and their mother was on lockdown. Nobody could leave the house. Everybody's inside. I ended up getting my period for 3 months. It wasn't heavy and it wasn't like anything crazy. I didn't have like crazy cramps or anything, thank God. I'm gonna call my doctor and we gotta figure this shit out ASAP. I for sure was so convinced that I was about to be on my period for the rest of my life. I'm explaining to her that I had been on my period for 3 months. I failed to mention that I got on birth control, right? It just didn't cross my mind. Clearly, she's trying to figure out what's wrong with me. I had to go get an ultrasound. I don't know the proper term, but it's an ultrasound where they stick the probe up your, to see your uterus and all that, because they were checking for cysts or like fibroids or anything that could like say maybe what could be wrong. Obviously, it came back negative. Obviously, my uterus looked fine. So now they're like, okay, well, it's not this. It's not that. Then I got the idea like, oh, but you know, I did get on birth control. And they're like, oh yeah, this is what happened. So essentially the depot was leaving my system. That's why my period was irregular. So now to regulate my period, I had to get on birth control pills. I didn't even want to take birth control pills in the first place, and now I have to because this whole shit. It did regulate my period. Finally, I think after about a month, my period was back to normal. And after that, I swore I was never about to be back on birth control. Me being on birth control pills, then I started gaining weight more. No matter what type of birth control that I took, I was bound to gain weight because it had hormones in it. I was like, I'm done with birth control. Like, it makes me gain weight. I'm done. I don't want to deal with it. Like, I'm done. You know what I'm saying? Right after high school, I ended up moving out of state to Florida. a couple months me being there, I met my ex. Long story short, I got back on birth control pills because I was not about to play around. I had that extra precaution there. I had moved out of state to Florida. Obviously, I didn't have health insurance. I had to pay for it out of pocket. And it's not that it was expensive. I think it was like $30 or some shit like that to have it every single month. The problem was, I called and they didn't even have a prescription for me. So I was like, you know what? I'm not even about to deal with this. I was literally on birth control pills for 1 month. But I gained even more weight. Now fast forward to 2024. Towards the end of 2024, already thinking for me to get on birth control, right? Just to be like, as a safety precaution for JJANELIS, for my uterus. Again, I didn't want anything hormonal. So in the back of my head, I knew that the only form of birth control that I could get would have to be IUD. I forgot the proper term, but it's the copper IUD that lasts up to 12 years. And that is the most effective type of birth control that they have. But it is also the most painful type of birth control that is out there. Like I mentioned to y'all before, I have the worst period cramps on earth. I was about to like say fuck it and get like the arm implant or something. One, Trump got elected and we already know about all the abortion rights and all that shit. I'm not even about to get into politics. We already know how all that shit is going down and how all that shit goes into play. I was not about to play around. I don't even care about the pain tolerance. Like this last 12 years, period. That's all I need to know. One time I said Planned Parenthood, I was explaining to them that my cramps are horrible and that any other type of birth control I had been on like made me gain weight, and they were like, yeah, so the only birth control that wouldn't necessarily make you gain weight because it's non-hormonal is the copper IUD. She was explaining to me that the arm implant probably would be the worst option for me to be on because it is the one that has the most hormones in it and it goes right into your bloodstream in your arm. So I would in fact rapidly gain weight from it, and I was like, okay, yeah, that's not an option for me right now. I'm not trying to gain any weight. I was like, okay, fuck it. Let's get into the whole process of me getting it inserted and my first menstrual cycle with IUD. The day of, I was really nervous. I've heard nothing but horror stories. I also have the worst pain tolerance, and I'm telling you, it was a breeze for me. But this is my experience. I can't tell you it will be the same for you because everybody's different. Everybody's body is different. Everybody's body reacts different. I was dreading it, but I'm like, I'm gonna just get this shit over with. Apparently, they don't offer like the anesthetic, whatever that shit is called that they use to numb a certain area or place on your body, to numb my cervix basically. I didn't know that they did not offer this to everybody. It hurt a lot less for me because they had numbed my cervix before even inserting the IUD. They numbed my cervix. First they go in, I think it's to measure like how big your cervix is, right? To see how like far in they have to insert the rod. The part that hurts the most is when they insert the IUD. All I did feel was pressure. The doctor was explaining everything she was doing as she was doing it. Had my cervix not been numbed, I would have been able to feel every crevice. I feel for y'all. I really do feel for the women who did this like raw. I applaud y'all because I could never. I could imagine how uncomfortable it must have been not having your cervix numbed. Immediately did I start feeling cramps? Yes, immediately. It was like gradually. I'm like, if this feels like this now, imagine when I get my period for real. Like I was scared. Another thing that they gave me was a heating pad that I felt helped as well with the whole process. The whole thing went down. They gave me a cup of water and they gave me a can of ginger ale. They really took care of me. Right after you get started, you can't get up right away. Some women feel dizzy. Me, I didn't really feel dizzy. I just felt weak. Then I'm calling my cousin and I'm telling her like the whole like how everything went down. She was like, for her it went down completely different. So that's when I was like, oh. I was like, you're such a liar. Like it didn't even hurt that bad. Like da, da, da. And she was like, well, I didn't get my cervix numbed. And I was like, oh. The rest of the day was fine. I just had like light bleeding. I was already on my period, so you know what I'm saying. The first 2 days you're not allowed to use a tampon, and you're not allowed, obviously you're not allowed to have intercourse because it's brand new. Like thing was a breeze for me. But I know that it was a breeze for me because of the way that it went down for me. It might not be the same for you. You might not be able to get your cervix numbed or even have the opportunity to get a heating pad. My first menstrual cycle being with the IUD was a whole different experience that I was sitting there about to regret my decision even getting this IUD in the first place. I forgot to mention, when you do get an IUD period, your period and your cramps are going to be heavier, right? Going back to what I was saying prior, my cramps were through the roof and I was at work, y'all, like ready to call Planned Parenthood and be like, I changed my mind. I want you to take this shit out right now. Like, the cramps were just extremely heavy. Now every month I dread actually getting my period. So things that I have bought to help with my period now with me being an IUD, it doesn't really take away the pain, but it does help mild them out so that I can like work and I won't die. The midol menstrual cramps are, I didn't even know that they existed. I'm not gonna lie to you. I usually will only take like Tylenol, extra strength, or ibuprofen, so there's only two like that would help. So when they were talking about midol, I was like, honestly, I've never heard of midol. In my 22 years of life, I've never heard of midol. So thank God, and God bless this woman for putting me onto midol. It literally helps with all the symptoms like
cramps, bloating, fatigue, headache, backache.
But an extra step that I do take at home sometimes is that I did buy a heating pad myself days that I'm home and it's like really bad. That is it. So would I recommend getting the copper IUD? Absolutely. I feel like it's a long-term way to protect yourself. It lasts from 10 to 12 years, is non-hormonal. It's the best form of birth control to prevent pregnancy, if that is what you're looking forward to or looking to use birth control for. There are a lot of different forms of birth control that you can get on that doesn't necessarily have to be the IUD, but if you are looking forward getting the copper IUD, I do feel like that is the best option. I felt like it was the best thing that I could have did because it literally lasts 12 years. I've been on it for 2 months and I haven't gained any weight. Thank God. If you have any other questions, my Instagram's down below. My DMs are open for anybody who does have questions. Anything further that I didn't really go over about the copper IUD or the birth control period, or comment down below, you know, either or. But make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. I hope that this was helpful in some type of way, you know, to make your mind up. I do feel like it's the best decision, and I will see you whenever I see you.